legislature ratified the 19th Amendment, cementing women's right to vote in the U.S. Constitution. 100 years later, we're still here, breaking down barriers for all Americans through a wide range of public policy reforms. Today, we have opportunities to focus our efforts on reforming the criminal justice system to make Tennessee a safer, stronger state. Advocating for lower taxes, less government spending, and better education, while fighting to repeal regulations that place an undue burden on the American family and entrepreneurs. Your voice and your vote are more important than ever. Join Americans for Prosperity activists from across the volunteer state as we continue our legacy of civic engagement.
Good morning, David. That is correct. The state of Tennessee will commemorate its role in the ratification of the 19th Amendment. This morning, that role actually occurred 100 years ago to the date. That role actually guaranteed the right to vote for women throughout the United States. Now, with a reenactment of this historic close vote, which is a fantastically cool thing that this state actually does something like this, that they were able to put something like this together. Now, the title of this reenactment this morning is Our Century, Living Tennessee's History of the Ratification. And I actually like that they called it the ratification. Not even of the 19th Amendment, just the ratification. That's right. It'll take place in the House floor, the House chambers, the state capitol. Today, it's set to start. The live stream is set to start at right at 9:30 a.m. That's Central Time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, here's the way that this story unfolded, and then we'll bring David back in for some commentary. Just pause, everyone. My name is Grant Henry, Grassroots Engagement Director in the Middle Tennessee area here for Americans for Prosperity. David Thompson on the other side of the screen. He is the Grassroots Engagement Director out in East Tennessee area. Now back to the story at hand. Members of the 1920 House of Representatives will be portrayed by both current members of the Tennessee General Assembly and local actors working from a script created in consultation with the official committee. The live stream will be archived and available for future viewing. So what you're about to see here in just around 8 minutes is going to be done by current members of the House as well as paid actors. And the official committee, the State Tennessee Women's Suffrage Centennial Group, said the following here in their hopes for what they hope to see out of this event this morning. They said, "Our hope as Tennesseans throughout the state, especially educators, school-aged children, will tune into this historic occasion to commemorate a moment in Tennessee's history that affected the lives of millions of women throughout the country. Tennesseans can be very proud of what was accomplished in our century 100 years ago, not only by those legislators that voted aye for suffrage, but by the many women in our state and throughout the nation who fought hard for decades to make it a reality." Now, again, this 19th Amendment, known as the Susan B. Anthony Amendment, it passed the U.S. House and Senate on June 4th, 1919, and was sent to the states for ratification. Now, to become a part of the U.S. Constitution, the amendment needed the approval of 36 of the 48 states at that time. Now, by the summer of 1920, 35 of the 36 states needed for ratification had approved the amendment. 8 states rejected the amendment. 5 had not voted. Suffragists saw Tennessee as their last hope, best hope for ratification before the 1920 presidential election. And on August 9th, the governor at the time, Governor Roberts, called a special session of the Tennessee General Assembly to consider the issue. Suffragists and anti-suffragists alike descended on Nashville. Now, in what became known, and this is part of what you're going to be seeing the next couple of days here, I presume, and what became known as the War of the Roses. Suffrage activists wore yellow roses as a symbol of support, in stark contrast to the red roses of the opposition. Now, fierce lobbying commenced on both sides of this issue, but the resolution passed easily in the Tennessee State Senate. Now, or rather back then, after it had passed easily in the Tennessee State Senate, women lobbied furiously to secure the votes in the House of Representatives where the vote was extremely close. And this story of how it all unfolded in the House is one to behold for sure. And I'm so happy they're doing a reenactment about this. David, I almost hesitate to give some of the details of this because I want to let it play out this morning. But I'm telling you, let me just give you a quick rundown here. It all came down to one guy. One guy got a note from his mother. And this note from his mother ended up convincing him to vote a different way, among several other things. That story quickly here on August 18th, 1920, suffragists and anti-suffragists packed the public galleries in the House of Chamber for its vote. Now, members and spectators wore yellow and red roses. We just described both on either side here, reflecting their stance. The atmosphere was tense. The Speaker of the House, that was Seth Walker of Lebanon, served as the anti-suffrage leader, although he had previously advocated for suffrage. Now, there were several other individuals involved. A legislator from Memphis, he led the suffrage cause in the House after Seth Walker tried unsuccessfully to table the amendment, which would have effectively killed the bill. The House was required to vote on the 19th Amendment. Now, as the roll call began, the votes were tallied. The youngest member of the House at the time, 24-year-old Harry Byrne, he faced a dilemma. In his coat pocket sat a 7-page letter from his mother. Among general news of the family, farm, and other things, the letter from his mother was persuading her son to change his anti-suffrage stance, writing, "Hurrah and vote for suffrage." As Byrne's name approached for the roll call, the young man sporting a red anti-suffrage rose. Can you all imagine this scenario right now? The vote's coming along, gets to him. He stands up. I mean, he's literally wearing a red anti-suffrage rose. He shocked the chambers by claiming "I" for the amendment, thus breaking a tie and changing the course of history. That's such a fantastically cool story, David. I'm telling you, man, as we're rolling into coverage of this thing, I think it's just awesome that Tennessee devotes something like this, that we're known for something like this. And then Americans for Prosperity is going to bring you some coverage of these things more as we go along. David and I will be here as this rolls in. And we will also be being a slightly different type of coverage as this thing rolls out during the outro. And David, I know they've been doing a lot of. It is. And I know they've been doing a lot of things out in Knoxville's way as well. They've been, talking about doing some marches for this. And I don't know what's. Have you heard any buzz out in Knoxville about what they're bringing in attention to this, or? It absolutely is. And look, I just want to make a quick pitch here for Americans for Prosperity. And part of what we do, you saw the video in the intro there, and you saw what we'd like to draw attention to the things that we're working on. We're working on a multitude of things across the state all the time, things that will make changes in the community that you live in, changes for the better, removing barriers for individuals so they can live their best lives. One of the things we have going on right now is this property tax increase in the Nashville area. We will actually be doing some door knocking in the Hermitage area this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you all are so inclined, you'd like to come help out and stop that property tax increase, by all means, get in touch with me. My phone number, I'll give it to you right now, 615-330-4569. That's 615-330-4569. Contact me directly. My name is Grant Henry. We'll be doing door knocking to stop that property tax increase in the Nashville area. Just one of a number of things that Americans for Prosperity is doing currently right now. Now, quickly, let me just plug a little bit of the information from people that are bringing you this reenactment today. That is Tennessee Women 100. The website here you'll see linked in the show notes as well, at least in the description section of this video. That's TennesseeWomen100.com. It's TNWOMAN 100.com. Or Century Living, you'll see this today. Our Century Living Tennessee's history of the ratification. You can also find their Facebook page and their YouTube page, similarly titled TN Woman 100. TN Woman 100. Man, I would love to see what's going on there right now. Yeah, if you just joined us, by the way, if you did just join us, what we're talking about is the reenactment of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. The reenactment of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. This will be occurring this morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, 9:30 Central Time at 10:30 Eastern Time. It's entitled Our Century Living Tennessee's History of the Ratification. And I really would like to know, too, a little bit more of the background story as to how they actually compiled some of this information as to the script that went down in the House. and the tension that was building during that time. The tension 100 years ago. And I like the way that the New York Times actually puts this as well. In the sweltering month of August, an overdressed age without air conditioning, the Tennessee Senate passed. I'm hearing this right now. We are going live. Let's go ahead and go right to the live coverage.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome into the chamber Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton, Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally, and the Governor of the great state of Tennessee, the Honorable Bill Lee.
Clerk, please call the legislators.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the 111th General Assembly.
At this time, I'd like to recognize Lieutenant Governor and Speaker of the Senate and my good friend, Randy McNally.
In 1920, there were no women members of the Tennessee General Assembly. Today, that is not the case. We welcome the women members of the 111th General Assembly along with their male counterparts. The women members of the Senate are Senator Janice Bowling, Senator Ramesh Akbari, Senator Brenda Gilmore, Senator Dolores Gresham, Senator Rosalind Carita, Senator Sarah Kyle, Senator Becky Duncan Massey, Senator Katrina Robinson, Senator Don White. The members of the House are Representative Karen Camper, Representative Barbara Cooper, Representative Patsy Hazelwood, Representative Esther Helton, Representative Gloria Johnson, Representative London Lamar, Representative Mary Littleton, Representative Susan Lynn, Representative Deborah Moody, Representative Iris Rutter, Representative Robin Smith, and Representative Terry Lynn Weaver.
Thank you,
Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor McNally. Now, to begin our ceremonies today, I'd like to introduce the Honorable Governor Bill Lee to join us.
Thank you. I'm proud to be with each one of you today as we celebrate the centennial of the pivotal role that Tennessee played in the ratification of the 19th Amendment. 100 years ago today, Tennesseans in this very chamber came together to cast votes on a most important issue, an issue that would forever change the trajectory of America. And it's a privilege to acknowledge today, as we do, the special place that our state holds, that Tennessee had in the fight to grant women the constitutional right to vote. The celebration is important and necessary for a number of reasons. First, to remember the value of the democratic process, but also to celebrate the courage and the tenacity of those who would fight for equality and for opportunity for every American. As you'll see later today, the final outcome of the vote was anything but certain, while the fate of 27 million women hung in the balance. And the drama of those moments solidified the end to what had been a long struggle to ratify the 19th Amendment. This reenactment's not only a tribute to our history, but it's really a remembrance and a recognition of the process of how we progress in our values in our nation through national consensus. We saw that happen then as it continues to happen today. It's an honor to celebrate this monumental achievement, not only of Tennessee, but of our nation. It's an honor to celebrate it with each one of you today, and grateful for those who have made this happen. My wife and Tennessee's First Lady, who's unfortunately able to be here today, the fact that she's not able to be here, certainly not indicative of her recognition of how valuable this is. As the honorary chair of the committee of the state of Tennessee's Women's Suffrage Centennial, Maria understands not only the moment that we celebrate today, but the powerful opportunity that it gives us to teach the next generation about what's important to our generation. So if you would join me in a video message from my wife and the First Lady of Tennessee, Maria Lee.
Everyone, I'm Maria Lee, First Lady of Tennessee. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you in person, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to join you in this way and underscore this historic occasion. Securing the vote for women was an uphill battle that took more than 70 years and 3 generations to achieve. Women, unified under the belief that suffrage for all was crucial to the further development of our democracy, fought with courage, fortitude, and perseverance. In the summer of 1920, all eyes were on Tennessee as it became the nation's last best hope in ratifying the 19th Amendment. Today's reenactment is a tribute to our democracy's response to the voices of these American women. And what a dramatic finish it was. As a former teacher and now proud First Lady of the volunteer state, so much can be learned from Tennessee's critical role in becoming the perfect 36, from amending the Constitution to the importance of civic duty and engagement. We're delighted to be able to live stream this reenactment to students and viewers alike across our great state and nation. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, First Lady. On behalf of the great people of our state, I welcome all of you to today's celebration of this historic vote in the Tennessee House of Representatives on August 18, 1920, that ratified the 19th Amendment, which reads, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation." Among those of you watching the event today, I especially want to welcome the students in the schools across our great state of Tennessee as you learn, perhaps for the first time in your life, of the heroic acts of women and men across our state and this nation. As they fought for a women's right to vote, it is imperative that you know the importance of voting, the importance of the 19th Amendment, and the role your state played in this ratification. And now I'm pleased to introduce an incredible Tennessee artist, a graduate of Belmont University here in Nashville, highly sought after background vocalist, star of American Idol, and recording artist. Please welcome Miss Melinda Doolittle, who will sing America the Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet whose stern impassioned stress a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God mend thine every flaw. Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
Miss Melinda, thank you for blessing us with that wonderful vocal to that incredible song. As you know, we mark this historic occasion with the reenactment of the final series of votes that led to the ratification of the 19th Amendment. To assist us in this, we have invited Mac Perkle and Demetria Kaladimos to guide us through the events of 1920. Mac produced the 75th anniversary reenactment in 1995. We are glad to have him back with us today. Demetria is an award-winning television news anchor, journalist, and documentarian familiar to many in Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. Additionally, we have asked several actors to help us capture the spirit and the language of various pivotal moments during the 1920 special session. Would you please stand at this time so we can recognize you? Thank you. Demetria, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. 100 years ago, on this day, in this very chamber, the course of American history changed. The journey to the 19th Amendment began 72 years prior, in 1848, at the first Women's Rights Convention in Seneca Falls, New York. And it neared its conclusion as Tennessee Governor Albert Roberts called a special session of the Tennessee legislature to consider ratification of the 19th Amendment.
As it often happens in our fragile democracy, it would come down to a final vote. And by the summer of August 1920, 35 states had ratified the amendment. The American suffrage forces then faced a final battle for the 36th state. The last state needed to meet the ratification threshold of 3/4 of the states in order to alter our Constitution. And at that time, there were 48 states.
This 72-year struggle was no genteel exercise in persuasive elocution. It was a brutal conflict that challenged the character and moral fortitude of men and women across the country. Suffragist women picketed the White House, the first demonstration of its kind, and burned remarks made by President Wilson. Many were arrested and thrown in jail, where they staged hunger strikes, including Tennessee's own Sue Shelton White of Jackson.
1920 found our country bitterly divided, ravaged by the Spanish flu pandemic, the aftermath of World War I, continued Jim Crow racism, and a national presidential election in November. It was not lost on the Republican and Democratic parties that if women received the vote, it meant 27 million potential additional votes added to the rolls virtually overnight. And both parties wanted bragging rights as the party that delivered the 19th Amendment for American women. Both the beauty and the unpredictability of our democratic process was on full display as the ratification process focused on the most unlikely of places, the state of Tennessee. Unlikely because it was a southern state. Unlikely because pundits of the time thought that the final vote might come from the New England states or die in the barren South where no state had ratified and most would not even vote on the issue.
But Tennessee suffragists were prepared for this moment. They worked tirelessly with the goal of canvassing every legislator across the state and soliciting their promise to vote for ratification. And in 1920, that was not an easy task. Tennessee had only 500 miles of paved highway across the entire state. But the women trudged east and west, up and down rugged dirt roads, sometimes turned into muddy lanes, barely walkable and capable of bringing an automobile to a standstill, requiring mules to pull it out of the muck. In tribute to the women of Tennessee, national suffragist leader Mrs. Carrie Chapman Catt remarked,
"The southern summer heat was merciless, and many legislators lived in remote villages or on farms miles from any town. Yet the women trailed these legislators by train, by motor, by wagons, and on foot, often in great discomfort, and frequently at considerable expense to themselves. They went without meals, were drenched in unexpected rains, and met with tire troubles. Yet no woman faltered."
And we are here because of the efforts of those women and the men who championed their cause. That final vote on August 18th, 1920 was part of a special session of our state legislature that actually began 9 days prior on August the 9th.
A block away, but in view of the Capitol, was and still is the Hermitage Hotel, which became known as the Third House, where many of the out-of-town legislators were staying. Caucuses for both sides of the issue were held there, and both suffragist and anti-suffragist headquarters were maintained at the Hermitage Hotel. And even though prohibition was the law of the land, Jack Daniels maintained a very active hospitality suite on the 8th floor. Local newspapers were divided. The Nashville Banner came out against suffrage. The Nashville Tennessean was in favor. And newspapers across the state were similarly split on the issue. During that time, there were numerous motions by the anti-suffragists in the House to delay the vote.
Through it all, loyalties were visible and evident by the display of a yellow rose for suffrage and a red rose against, especially on the night of August 12th at a joint committee hearing said to be the largest gathering ever in the state of Tennessee at the Capitol. The speakers included Memphian Charles Ormond Williams, who went on to be the first woman vice chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and Nashville suffragist Ann Dallas Dudley.
"We have a vision of a new time where the woman's home will be the whole wide world. Her children, all whose feet are bare, and her sisters, all who need a helping hand. We believe in a new knighthood, a new chivalry, when men will not only fight for women, but for the rights of women."
Also present was New York anti-suffrage orator Charlotte Rowe. She also spoke.
Being down in the mires of politics cheapens women. To give women the ballot is only to break up the home and the beginning of socialism in America.
Invisible to those watching and following the proceedings were numerous African American women and organizations that worked tirelessly for women's suffrage, yet were largely hidden due to the perceived risks by many suffragists that the elements of the Jim Crow racism would turn the vote against ratification of the amendment. African American women were organized and motivated in spite of the difficulties they faced. Notable Tennessee women figured prominently in the suffrage movement. Ida B. Wells and Mary Church Terrell from Memphis, and from Nashville, Nettie Langston Napier and Frankie Pierce.
What will the Negro woman do with the vote? We are interested in the same moral uplift of the community in which we live as you are. We are asking only one thing: a square deal. We bought war bonds. We gave money. We prayed. We want recognition in all forms of government.
The next day, the very next day, Friday the 13th of August, the Tennessee State Senate passed the resolution of ratification with 25 ayes, 4 nays, and 2 not voting, one of which was Senator Lon McFarland, known for wearing both a yellow and a red rose on his lapel. But much of the talk was about remarks made by the staunch anti-suffrage senator from McMinn County, H.M. Candler.
I am not in favor of a petticoat government with these low-neck, high-skirt suffragists who know not what it is to go down in the shade of the valley and bring forth children.
This speech would prove to be a pivotal moment for the 19th Amendment. The weekend break brought fevered pressure from lobbyists, and the pressure began to grow on any legislator standing on the fence through persuasive offers of money and with darker threats of violence and false messages of family members in danger back home in an attempt to break quorum. On Tuesday, August 17th, the House finally took up a motion by Representative Riddick to concur with the Senate's passage of Joint Resolution 1 to ratify the 19th Amendment. But the debate was cut short.
Yes, it was. And now, Mr. Speaker, I move that we move this action to 1920 and the 61st General Assembly.
You have my permission. I hereby pass the gavel to Speaker Seth Walker from the year 1920.
I appreciate Representative Riddick's motion to concur and the spirited discussion of my colleagues here in the chamber. But at this point, I offer a motion to adjourn until tomorrow.
And with that, the motion to adjourn until the next morning passed, 52 to 44. This vote left the suffragists wondering whether it meant they had perhaps failed to get the votes needed for passage. Now, we should note that in the months leading to this special session, Speaker Walker was a strong supporter of the suffrage cause. His abrupt defection to the anti-suffrage side was rumored to be influenced by lobbyists from the railroad industry, which he denied. And that brings us to August 18th, 1920, and what would be the final day of the special session, including a very interesting parliamentary strategy by Speaker Walker.
At this time, I would like to turn over the gavel and the speakership to the eminently qualified Representative Overton.
Mr. Speaker, I find this action completely out of order, as I'm sure most of my colleagues do.
Representative Walker, you are recognized.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I would like to take up the unfinished business from yesterday.
And Speaker Walker's confidence was high after the 52-44 vote to adjourn from the previous day. He forged ahead, hoping to quickly put an end to the 19th Amendment.
The hour has come. The battle has been fought and won. This measure is defeated, and Mr. Speaker, I would like to move a motion that the motion to concur with Joint Resolution 1 go where it rightfully belongs, on the table. And for any members who are insecure in voting for Joint Resolution 1 that gives women the right to vote, you may be secure that your vote for my motion to table will send this amendment away forever.
Mr. Speaker! Mr. Speaker!
Representative Hanover, you are recognized.
In Governor Roberts' address to the 61st General Assembly of the state of Tennessee, he reminds us Tennessee occupies a pivotal position upon this question. The eyes of all America are upon us. Millions of women are looking to the Tennessee legislature to give them a voice and a share in shaping the destiny of the Republic. I submit to you that this issue is one, perhaps, of the most far-reaching and momentous ones that any body of men would be called on to pass since the foundation of this government.
Mr. Speaker! Representative Swift. Representative Swift, you are recognized.
I have to agree with the wise statements in this literature. The dark and dangerous side of women's suffrage. The issue is crystal clear. The family is either the unit of civilization, interdependent, ennobling, and worthy of grappling to our souls, or it is a tyrannical institution to be discarded for a new scheme of social existence. It robs women of their immunities and men of their responsibilities. Under the feminist socialist scheme, men will inevitably become weak and effeminate, dominated by petticoat government, duplicating the tragic history of Rome and Athens and Carthage, and the race and the nation be doomed to degeneration and decadence.
Mr. Speaker, I call for the vote on my resolution to table Joint Resolution 1.
Mr. Speaker, I second that motion.
Thank you very much, Representative.
Vote is called for and seconded. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
And with that, the voting began in what could be the end of the suffrage amendment here in Tennessee.
Representatives Anderson. No. Bell. Bond. Boyd. Boyer. Bratton.
Aye.
Byrne.
Nay.
Canale.
Nay.
Carr.
No.
Carter. Aye. Cassidy. Cheek.
Yes.
Cole.
Aye.
H.P. Crawford.
Aye.
J.S. Crawford.
Nay.
Davis. Dotson. Downland.
No.
Dunlap. Ellis. Fisher. Fitzhugh. Forsythe.
Aye.
Foster. Francisco. Frog.
Aye.
Galbraith.
Aye.
Griffin. Hall.
Aye.
Hanover.
No.
Harris. Harville.
Aye.
Hayes. Hickman.
No.
Howard.
Aye.
Jackson. Jeter. Johnson. Kahn.
No.
Keaton. Kiesling. Larson. Leaf. Light.
No.
Long. Longhurst. Luther. Lynn.
No.
J.M. Martin. J.O. Martin. McCalman. McMurray. Miller. Milliken. Montgomery. Moore. Moose.
No.
Morgan. Norvell. Odell.
Nay.
Oldham. Overton.
Aye.
Phelan.
No.
F.H. Phillips. W. Phillips. Rector. Riddick.
Nay.
Rucker.
No.
Russell.
Aye.
Sharp. Schoaf.
No.
J.H. Simpson.
Yes.
J.O. Simpson. Sykes. Skidmore.
Nay.
Smith.
Aye.
Story.
Aye.
Stovall. Swift.
Aye.
Swink.
Hey.
Tarrant.
Nay.
Throneberry.
Aye.
C.A. Travis.
No.
E.A. Travis. Tucker.
Hey.
Turner.
Turner passes.
Vinson. Wade.
No.
Walker. Weldon.
Yes.
L.M. Whitaker. M.E. Whitaker.
Yes.
Whitfield. Wilson. Wolfenbarger. Womack.
Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Mr. Speaker, 48 ayes, 47 nays.
Mr. Turner, you passed on the roll. Do you wish to cast your vote?
I wish to be recorded as against the motion to table.
Mr. Speaker,
take the
Mr.
vote.
Speaker, I call for a recount of my motion to table. I do believe that a vote has been mistakenly cast.
Turner's vote against the motion did not sit well with his friend Seth Walker.
Mr. Speaker, I second the call for a recount. I do not believe the good women of Tennessee want the ballot. But even if they did, what we as legislators must decide cannot be determined by what women want, but by what they ought to have. Eve wanted to eat the apple, and because of that disobedience, God placed woman in the home with her husband to rule over her. Now, if any are disposed to find fault with this position, they are disposed to complain against the will of God Almighty and not the will of man. And that is precisely what Mrs. Katz and the leaders of women's suffrage are doing.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker! Mr. Canale! Mr. Canale, you are recognized.
As Senator L.E. Gwynn said just the other day in the Senate, we should covet for Tennessee the signal honor of being the 36th and last state necessary to consummate this great reform. Woman has been the cause of our advancements and progress. How can one afford to deny her the ballot? Woman is God's chosen creature. And if this is so, won't she, if taken into our political life, scatter her perfume and purity and the fragrances into the muddy waters of our political life and make it clear as crystal? Now I ask you with all my heart, don't hide behind the cloak of constitutionality, but come out in the open, vote against this measure to table, and let's move on with these proceedings to give woman the ballot.
Mr. Clerk, call the roll again.
Representatives Anderson.
Aye.
Bell. Bond. Boyd. Boyer. Bratton.
Aye.
Byrne.
Nay.
Canale.
Nay.
Carr.
No.
Carter.
Aye.
Cassidy.
Aye.
Cheek.
Yes.
Cole.
Aye.
H.P. Crawford.
Aye.
J.S. Crawford.
Aye.
Davis. Dotson. Downland.
No.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Ellis.
No.
Fisher. Fitzhugh.
Aye.
Forsythe.
Aye.
Foster.
No.
Francisco. Frog.
Aye.
Galbraith. Griffin.
No.
Hall.
Aye.
Hanover.
No.
Harris.
Hey.
Harville.
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Hickman.
No.
Howard.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Jeter.
Hey.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kahn.
No.
Keaton.
No.
Kiesling.
Aye.
Larson.
Larson, no.
Leaf.
No.
Light.
No.
Long.
Aye.
Longhurst.
Nay.
Luther.
No.
Lynn.
No.
J.M. Martin.
No.
J.O. Martin. McCalman. McMurray.
Yes.
Miller.
Nay.
Milliken.
Aye.
Montgomery.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Moose.
No.
Morgan.
Nay.
Norvell. Odell.
Nay.
Odom. Overton.
Aye.
Phelan.
No.
F.H. Phillips.
Aye.
W. Phillips.
No.
Rector.
No.
Riddick.
Nay.
Rucker.
Nay.
Russell.
Aye.
Sharp. Schoaf.
Nay.
J.H. Simpson. T.O. Simpson.
No.
Sykes.
Aye.
Skidmore.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Story.
Aye.
Stovall.
Nay.
Swift.
Aye.
Swink.
Wait, nay.
Tarrant.
Nay.
Throneberry.
Aye.
C.A. Travis.
Yes.
E.A. Travis.
No.
Tucker.
Nay.
Turner.
You take your seat. I have every right to leave my chair as you do, Mr. Walker. No, you gave up the job to Overton. You will sit down, sir.
Gentlemen! Gentlemen! You must give Mr. Turner the vote. Your vote, Mr. Turner.
Once again, I vote against the motion to table.
Mr. Clerk, continue the roll.
Vinson. Wade.
No.
Walker.
Aye.
Weldon.
Aye.
L.M. Whitaker.
Aye.
M.E. Whitaker.
Aye.
Whitfield. Wilson.
Yes.
Wolfenbarger. Womack. Mr. Speaker, the vote remains 48 ayes, 48 nays.
The motion to table fails for lack of majority.
In a moment that might seem like defeat for the anti-suffrage side, Speaker Walker turns the parliamentary tables once again, still confident at this point, knowing that a continued tie vote will mean defeat for Joint Resolution 1.
Mr. Speaker, at this time, seeing how this legislative body is equally drawn in two directions, I would like to call the vote on Joint Resolution 1, because I believe this deadlock will continue and we will be able to make this process of ratification disappear forever and return to the legitimate business of the state of Tennessee.
Mr. Hall, you are recognized.
I second the motion calling for the vote.
I thank you for that.
The women's suffrage movement is an attempt to substitute love for justice. I believe in war now and always. If we turn our government over to women, we lose our warlike and protective natures. When they vote, will they know why and understand what they are doing? A dangerous cloud of indifference and unconcern is hanging over this country. I am convinced that a majority of the good women of Tennessee are against women's suffrage and will resent this privilege and right coming to them against their wills.
Mr. Odle, you are recognized.
Let us not forget the great letter Margaret Irwin Ford of Lookout Mountain wrote to us on the 12th of this month. The eyes of American women are turned to you, men of Tennessee, and their lips are ever moving in prayer that Tennessee shall fail them not in this, their hour of greatest need. Prayer that you, legislators of Tennessee, may rise to the supreme glory of this, your hour of greatest opportunity. The time for women to take place in government has come, and men might as well butt their heads against the Rock of Gibraltar as to oppose.
For the vote today belongs to the suffragists of Tennessee, Mr. Walker.
Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Representatives Anderson.
Representative Anderson of Knox proudly votes for suffrage, so I vote aye.
Bell.
Representative Bell votes aye.
Bond. Boyd.
Representative Boyd votes no.
Boyer.
Boyer, no votes for women, no.
Bratton. Byrne.
Mr. Byrne, I cannot hear your vote. Where do you stand, Mr. Byrne?
Everyone tallying the votes, 24-year-old Representative Harry Byrne from McMinn County, the youngest member of the General Assembly, had just received a letter from his mother, Feb Byrne, a supporter of ratification, who had clearly been following the proceedings of the special session, especially the earlier remarks of her own state senator, Mr. Candler.
Dear son, yet. So be a good boy and help Mrs. Thomas Cat with her rats. Is she the one who put the rat in ratification? No more from Mama for now. With love, always. Mama.
I vote aye.
In real-time 1920, Harry Burns' vote came quickly as the roll was called, and it caught many by surprise. Suffragists slowly began to realize that Burns' vote would make the difference.
Canale.
Representative Canale proudly votes aye.
Carr.
Carr of Putnam votes aye.
Carter.
Representative Carter of Falcon votes no.
Cassidy.
I stand with my people from Knox County and I vote no.
Cheek.
Mr. Clerk, I would have you record Charles Cheek of Marshall County as a resounding no.
Cole.
Cole votes no.
H.P. Crawford.
Crawford votes no.
J.S. Crawford.
Representative Crawford of Bedford County.
Davis.
Yes, vote.
Fisher.
Representative Crawford of Bedford County.
Davis.
Yes, vote.
Fisher.
No.
Votes no.
The man representing Meigs and Rake County, the God-fearing people of Meigs and Rake County, votes no.
Representative Hall votes nay. Harris votes aye.
Harville. Hayes.
Sevier votes aye.
Howard. Jackson.
Votes aye.
Weekly votes aye.
Khan.
Khan votes aye.
Keaton.
Gibson votes aye.
Kiesling.
Kiesling of Overton County votes no.
Yes.
Lee.
Representative Leith, at the behest of my wife and 2 daughters, vote yes.
Light.
Representative Light joins his friend, Representative Burns, with a yes vote.
Long.
Long votes nay.
Longhurst.
Representative Longhurst from Davidson County votes yes for women.
Representative Luther from
J.M. Martin.
Martin votes aye.
J.O. Martin.
James Martin from Hamilton votes no.
McMurray.
Representative McMurray, vote.
Miller.
Representative Miller of Hamilton County proudly joins my colleague in voting aye for women.
Representative Milliken from Roane County votes
Representative Moore from Hardin County votes nay.
Moose.
Representative Moose from Tipton votes aye.
Moore. Odell.
Representative Odell votes aye.
Oh.
On behalf of all of our mothers,
All right, folks, we've lost the stream from that we were using. I'm waiting for it to come back up. If you'll just be patient, I believe it will come back up. But if not, thank you so much for joining us as we, with AFP Tennessee, as we stream the reenactment of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. There's more information in the description if you want to learn more about it. But like I said, we are waiting for the stream to come back up. Thank you for being patient, and thank you for joining us today.
County, the God-fearing people of Meigs and Ray County votes no.
Representative Hall votes nay. Harris votes aye.
Harville. Hayes.
Severe votes aye.
Howard. Jackson.
Votes aye. Weekly votes aye.
Khan.
Khan votes aye.
Keaton.
Gibson votes aye.
Kiesling.
Kiesling of Overton County votes no.
Yes.
Lee.
Representative Leith, at the behest of my wife and 2 daughters, vote yes.
Light.
Representative Light joins his friend, Representative Burns, with a yes vote.
Long.
Long votes nay.
Longhurst.
Representative Longhurst from Davidson County votes yes for women.
Representative Luther from
J.M. Martin.
Martin votes aye.
J.O. Martin.
James Martin from Hamilton votes no.
McMurray.
Representative McMurray votes.
Miller.
Representative Miller of Hamilton County proudly joins my colleague in voting aye for women.
F. Phillips votes no.
W. Phillips.
Representative Milliken from Rome.
Representative
County
Phillips of Hawkins County votes aye.
Rector.
Representative Rector of Claiborne votes aye.
Riddick.
Representative Riddick votes aye.
Rucker.
James Rucker of Rutherford votes nay.
Russell.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to vote the correct vote, which is no for women.
Sharp.
Sharp votes nay.
Schoaf.
Schultz votes aye.
J.H. Simpson. T.O. Simpson.
Representative Simpson votes yes.
Sipes.
Representative John Sipes votes nay.
Skidmore.
Representative Skidmore of Franklin votes nay.
Smith.
Representative Thomas Smith from Davidson County vehemently opposes and votes no.
Story.
Representative Story from White County votes no.
Stovall.
Stovall aye.
Swift.
Representative W.R. Swift votes nay.
Swink.
Representative Swink of Madison votes yes.
Tarrant.
Tarrant votes aye.
Throneberry.
Throneberry, no.
C.A. Travis.
Representative Charles Travis votes no.
E.A. Travis.
On behalf of all of our mothers, wives, and daughters, and the trust that they will use this vote wisely, Dr. E.A. Travis votes yes for women.
Tucker.
Mr. Speaker, Tucker from Washington votes aye.
Turner.
Mr. Speaker, Representative Banks Turner is in favor of the 19th Amendment. I vote aye.
Vinson.
Mr. Speaker, Representative John Vinson from the great county of Warren County, the national capital of the world, votes nay.
Wade.
Mr. Speaker, Representative Joe Wade of Knox County votes aye.
Walker.
Nay.
Weldon.
Weldon, aye.
M.E. Whitaker.
Representative Whitaker votes no.
J.T. Whitaker.
Whitaker, nay.
Whitfield.
Representative Whitfield, Williamson County votes no.
Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Wilson of Smith County votes no.
Wolfenbarger.
Mr. Speaker, Representative Dan Wolfenbarger, representing the people of Granger and Hancock, votes no.
Womack.
Womack is a no.
Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Mr. Speaker, 49 ayes, 47 nays.
In a bold move to salvage a different outcome, Seth Walker makes a last-ditch effort to maintain control and change the result.
Mr. Speaker, at this time, I would like to change my vote from nay to aye. And I also call for a reconsideration, Mr. Speaker. I call for a reconsideration of the vote.
Mr. Clerk, do we have a final vote on Joint Resolution 1?
Mr. Speaker, with Mr. Walker's vote, we have 50 ayes and 46 nays.
The motion to concur with Joint Resolution 1 passes. Tennessee ratifies the 19th Amendment.
Now, parliamentary rules only allow a member on the prevailing side of an issue to make a motion to reconsider the vote. Walker's change of his vote gave him 72 hours to control a reconsideration. And on Saturday, August the 21st, 1920, all 49 of the pro-suffragist House members returned to this chamber to restate their support of the 19th Amendment. Only 9 of the anti-suffragist voters showed up in the chamber. The remaining members, all 38 of them, had stolen away in the night and were hiding in plain sight at a hotel in Decatur, Alabama, in an attempt to deny a quorum. But their actions failed. The voters present constituted a quorum, and the motion to reconsider the original 50-46 vote quickly failed. In an ironic twist, Seth Walker's vote in favor of the 19th Amendment resulted in an unchallengeable constitutional majority of 50 of the total 99 members of the Tennessee State House. And as for Representative Harry Byrne, he explained his change of heart on the chamber floor the day after the vote.
Mr. Speaker, and members of the General Assembly, I want to take this opportunity to state that I changed my vote in favor of ratification because I believe in full suffrage as a right. I believe we had a moral and legal right to ratify. I know that a mother's advice is always safest for her boy to follow. My mother wanted me to vote for ratification. I appreciated the fact that an opportunity such as seldom comes to mortal man to free 27 million women from political slavery was mine.
The antagonism against Representative Byrne's change of heart was so vehement that he slipped out of the chamber into the House Clerk's office, exited through a window, made his way along the ledge of the exterior walls of this building, slipped back into the building through the Legislative Library window, quickly made his way to the Hermitage Hotel lobby, then to the office of a female lawyer friend.
The proceedings in this chamber 100 years ago may seem to some stranger than fiction. Yet our democratic republic has consistently found its way in fits and starts through momentous change time and time again, proving each time that change, though hard, is necessary to accomplish the goals of our union, that we are all created equal and deserve the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Mr. Speaker, if you would, please return us to 2020.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been wearing a red rose, now is the time to replace it with a yellow rose. We owe a debt of gratitude to the women and men of Tennessee in 1920, whose actions set the course for a new era of voting in our country. While we acknowledge the work that still lies ahead, none of this would have been possible were it not for the vote that took place in this chamber 100 years ago today, granting women everywhere the constitutional right to vote. We hope students across Tennessee and the nation will take this opportunity to learn more about the journey in the ratification of the 19th Amendment to our Constitution and gain a deeper understanding and appreciation for the importance of that vote. Representative Cochran from McMinn County, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the current representative of McMinn County and the occupant of Harry T. Byrne's seat, the tie-breaking vote for women's suffrage, it is my honor to ask that we adjourn these celebratory proceedings.
Senator Bell, also representing McMinn County, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as someone who formerly held the seat that Harry T. Byrne held and currently holds the Senate seat that Harry T. Byrne went on to hold, it has been an honor to participate in these proceedings this morning and proudly represent McMinn County, the home of Harry T. Byrne. We move to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.